Hey guys, let's talk about last night's episode of Homeland. And I will definitely say that I was on the edge of my seat for this episode. There were a lot of parts in this episode that I really enjoyed. I felt like we got back to season one Homeland where, we're on the ground, we're doing these missions, Carrie's on ground, like everybody is actively, searching for the target. It could go badly at any turn, and I felt like that anticipation worked very well in this episode. There were some obviously plot points that we saw that getting Mira's mistress to come out, or mistress, but her lover to get two operatives on the ground that would help assist Carrie in the extraction plan for Brody. Seeing Farah's uncle help assist the meeting of those two and deliver the phone. So there were some things in there that, okay, great, let's get those things out of the way. And then, of course, Javadi getting the syringe with the poison in it so that they could ultimately take out Akbari. And, all that kind of stuff was good. And you're sort of like, where's the misdirect? Is Javadi really going to go through with the plan? Is he a turned asset like everybody's hoping he's going to be? And then when the meeting kind of takes a weird turn. Well, first of all, let me just say that Javadi telling Akbari, yeah, maybe you should meet with Brody in person. I was like, really? Word? Are we really going to have the head of this organization just meet some guy because he wants asylum? Come on. But, this show always wants me to, put my mind in places where it's just going to have to go. So fine. They are assuming that there's going to be a meet, and, obviously there's all these twists and turns. We're not sure if it's going to turn out in our favor or CIA's favor, in Brody's favor, what's going to happen. And right when they come face to face, or, probably about 50 feet away from each other, they come face to face with one another. And then Akbari jumps into this car and he takes off. And then it's like, what's going on? And all of a sudden they end up going into this building, and suddenly Brody's face to face with Abu Nazir's wife, which I thought was a pretty cool reveal. Fine, she's there, she's in Iran, and that's where she's been staying because that's like her new home since her husband's been killed. And I thought this meeting was very significant in many ways, and it brought us back to, obviously, Brody having memories of Abu Nazir. And like we've said, he was imprisoned under Abu Nazir, but they became friends, and he became friends with his son. And in a weird, twisted way, he was his family for 8 years, I guess you could say. And, seeing them sort of have some memories and everything, I thought was interesting. Not in the way where you're like, oh, great, they're bonding, but in a way where it's like, yeah, like, how does Brody really feel? Who is he really connected to? And, when he leaves that building, because obviously Akbari used Abu Nazir's wife to sort of vet Brody. And so when he leaves the room and he goes out onto the street and there's all these people around him and they all kind of want to touch Brody and they want to shake his hand and they want to, like, you're like, whoa, this is really creepy. But it really made sense that he would be welcome there, obviously, because he's claiming he's the one who blew up the CIA. And for this to be Brody's new reality, where he's clearly not welcome in the United States, he's definitely America's most wanted, and there's a bounty on his head. But here, he's like royalty. He's like the king of the castle because he has done something that many of them want to have happen: destroy the United States. And when he gets in the car and then he like destroys the syringe and drops on the ground, in my mind I was like, this is a very interesting turn of events, because as we've seen, Brody is, I don't want to say easily manipulated, because obviously he was tortured for many years before he turned on to Abu Nazir's a follower. But, we really don't know who Brody is loyal to. Everything he's done, he's being forced to do. So, at the end, when when we see 6 days later and he's pretty much like bashing the United States on, television stations and whatever, and he's pretty much selling them down the river, you're getting the sense like, yeah, like obviously Brody is recognizing where he can feel comfortable. He can walk the streets. He can do his everyday things here. And in the States, he'd be hiding in the shadows. He would not be able to go out in public because people would know who he is. So it was a very interesting road that they went down with this. So, of course, Carrie has to warn him because all of the people at the CIA are pretty much like, we need to end Brody because he is clearly not on our side anymore. And of course, Carrie's like, yes, he is. He's just doing what he needs to do. He's changing up the plan a little bit because, we've been thrown like a monkey wrench. And me personally, I honestly believe that Brody was done. He was done with the U.S. The U.S. He was done with the CIA. This is where he decided now he's going to make his home. I really do. And when Carrie calls him and she's pretty much warning him that, they're going to take you out because you're not following orders, because apparently they wanted to extract him a few days before this and he didn't go. And so he's pretty much going rogue. And, when she tells him this, that, they're changing up the plan and you're pretty much like target number one, he freaks out. And he takes off and he goes to see Abu Nizir's wife again so that he can get a face-to-face with Akbari. And of course, we are to assume that he is going to sell the secrets. He's going to sell out Javadi. He's going to sell out the plan because, it's him. It's do or die, like survival of the fittest. And he gets into this meeting, again, rolling my eyes because I'm like, really? And then the security guard leaves. I'm like, really? So they're in this meeting and they're talking, and that's exactly what happens. Brody starts selling out Javadi. He's selling out the plan that he was sent there to kill him so that Javadi could be his number one. Like, you could take out the number one so he could be number one and everything. But I've turned against that plan, and I here to pretty much warn you and let you know. And he was like, oh, thank you, Brody. Thank you for, telling me everything, and we'll deal with Javadi. And Javadi sees Brody. And he pretty much tells the CIA, like, look, the jig is up. He's selling secrets, and I don't know what's going on. So, of course, we're in this meeting. And in my mind, personally, I was thinking this would be awesome if he completely turned again and started to work for, like, the Iranian, like, this crazy organization. And what would they do? What would be the result? Would the CIA cut their losses? Like, how could they handle this? Like, you pretty much gave them what they wanted, which was a sympathizer and all this kind of stuff. But of course, the show went down the road, which was pretty much, I think, the easy way out. And they had it be like a red herring, and Brody smacks the guy over the head with this ashtray, this like glass ashtray, and he falls and he smothers him with a pillow and he kills him. Now, here's my other problem with this whole thing. We spent 3 episodes, maybe 4 episodes, wasting time talking about Dana Brody and her lover and her being locked up in some crazy loony bin and watching her go on the run and sitting in front of gravestones and blah, 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 when we could have been spending our time actually getting a backstory and a developing character in Akbari. But we meet him for what, 15 minutes in this episode, and then he's dead? Like, am I emotionally connected to that now? No. Do I care that he's dead? No. Like, why did we waste so much time with Brody's daughter when we should have been paying attention to this character here? And even building up, like, how Javadi was, trying to play his own organization against one another. Or even spending time with watching Brody transform from being like this useless boy who'd been drugged up on heroin to turning into this soldier once again, and getting some more information about the soldiers, that the black ops operatives that were going to help him get across the border. So when last week's episode happened and one of them got his leg blown off and the other one got shot in the face, I would have cared more, because it's like, yeah, those are the characters that I'm interested in. Dana? No. So I feel like the show did some huge disservice to the overall arc of the story when now you're shoving everything into these final 3 or 4 episodes, when we really could have gotten a good backstory on who this kingpin, this head of this organization is. But we got nothing. We just were told that he's the biggest bad and Javadi would be number 2 and then he would take him out. Like, who cares about that? There's no investment. So I was very disappointed that not only did we meet this man in this episode, but then he died in this episode. I was like, well, that was great. And of course, he died under the worst circumstances for Brody, because there's clearly no exit strategy. And he's in this office with all of his security dudes outside the door, And he calls Carrie and he's like, yeah, get me out. Like, come on. I mean, so pretty much everybody else was standing around in this episode going, what's happening? Who's going where? Like, why is Brody there? What's happening? He's dead. Okay, let's get him. Let's get him. Like, Quinn, we had doing like one or two offhand comments like, what about Carrie? And I'm like, I feel like they've wasted Quinn in this season because he was somebody who really had a lot of mystery to him, and we got nothing from that this season. And yes, they're showing him like care for Carrie. All right, fine. Like, but what is that going to do? Like, unless they actually commit to killing Brody off this season, which I really think they should do, then I don't know where this show's going to go. Because he could have been killed after season 1. He could have even been killed in halfway through season 2. But we've kept him, and I mean, it's okay, but I don't know. But this was a far more dramatic episode, and it got me right back to feeling like how I did in season 1 when they were going on these missions, and like everything felt like you weren't sure what direction the show was going to go in, which I enjoyed. Carrie, being 4 months pregnant at this point pretty much, and nobody knowing she's pregnant, come on. Except for Quinn because he read her doctor's report. Whatever. I don't know. Anyways, guys, that has been my review for Homeland. Even though I had some, parts that I felt were a bit uneven in this episode, I still really enjoyed it. And I think we only have one more episode left. So let's see how they decide to end this season. It'll be very interesting. All right, guys, that's been my review for Homeland. I'll see you next week.